Welcome to the Feel It Live at Work online retreat. I'm Karen Hoffman of A Work Life You Love. I'm the host of the retreat and a coach specializing in helping people create work lives that are fulfilling and personally sustainable. In this session, I'm speaking with Debi Livingston Boucher. I'm so glad Debi was available for this retreat because she's warm, she's practical, and she's truly gifted in her work, which is helping people get past what blocks them. In fact, Debi describes herself as a blockbuster. She's a board certified hypnotist and instructor and a professional clairvoyant. She helps people uncover and release inner blocks, old traumas, and psychic scars that are preventing them from living the life that they desire. She began this wonderful work in 1978 by practicing and teaching meditation, metaphysical mind sciences, and hypnosis with students and clients around the world. Debi trains hypnotists. Graduates of her certification training have described it as intensive therapy with amazing breakthroughs and outcomes. Debi also does business coaching for hypnotists. She helps hypnotists and others start their businesses up and then further develop them. Debi's excellence has been noted in her field. She was the National Guild of Hypnotists Member of the Year in 2006, a solid gold presenter in 2006, as well as 2011 and 2022. And Debi was inducted into the prestigious Order of Braid Council in 2010. And in 2022, the National Guild of Hypnotists gave her the Hypnotism Hallmark Award for carrying on the legacy of hypnosis through teaching and sharing knowledge. I want to give you a very warm welcome, Debi. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Work is one of the biggest and most significant areas of our lives. When people make changes in their work or even contemplate making changes in their work, they're moving into new terrain. Things start to feel unfamiliar. They're taken outside of their comfort zone. They're in a transition. And Debi is going to be talking about transitions today, the challenges of transitions and how to overcome them. But before diving into that topic, I wanted to ask you, Debi, to tell us about your relationship to this topic of transitions, their challenges, and how to overcome them.
Oh boy, thank you for that. I've had a few experiences with the transitions in my day. Actually, I'm just sort of completing a big transition in my life right now. I had been living in Berkeley, California, where you are hailing from right now. I was out there for 45 years, and in 2022, I relocated to my original roots of New England, got a divorce, relocated to New England, and just bought my own house by myself for the first time in February. So that's been a huge transition. I closed down my training healing center in Berkeley during the pandemic. I moved my practice online. That was another transition. But my COVID silver lining was because everybody was now online, I could go wherever I wanted to go. So I decided to follow my family and my kids back to the roots of New England. So that was a big transition. And everything I'll be talking about today, I can speak from both sides because I apply the tools and techniques that I help people do. I apply them in my own life as well. And these tools and techniques that really have helped me, that's just one transition. I've had some major transitions other than this one in my life. And it's these techniques and concepts that get me through each and every one.
Wonderful. It's wonderful when you can speak from your own experience as well as teach the tools that can help other people. So let's dive into your main topic then. Tell us about transitions. When people decide to change their work life, they're entering a transition. So what's challenging about that?
Well, there's a lot that's challenging, and I do work with a lot of people, mainly women, but I work with men also, who come to me because they are in transition. And I know that we're focusing our talk today in the work field, but transitions can be changing a relationship, like I said, changing where you live. But to focus it on the work, I do work with women, work to help them through this transition. So the main thing that I was looking at is that it's fear of the unknown. This is one of the big energies or issues that come up when women look at, I really want to change jobs, or this vocation really doesn't seem to be serving me and my life anymore. What can I do that might be more fulfilling? And the first thing that I see people run into is the fear of the unknown. And I'd like to preface and sort of back everything up with who I serve and how I serve, if I can sort of share that, is as a hypnotist and as a clairvoyant energy light worker, I work with everyday people with everyday issues, but I'm coming from everything with a spiritual perspective or a spiritual overview. And I don't always tell my clients, I'm looking at you from a spiritual overview, but I flavor everything I do with that awareness. So I just wanted to say that, because if a woman is looking at creating a change and she's like, I really need to ask my boss for a raise, or I really need to go for that new position that I see another company is offering, whatever it may be, and there's that fear, then she needs to understand how to move past that to really find out what her values are. And sprinkling it with the awareness that I come from, because I've got 45 years of working in deep dive spirituality metaphysics, a spiritual being won't come home into its body if there's fear or pain. So when we have an uncomfortable feeling and we label it as fear, fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of whatever, it's really hard to become even more grounded and present with the change that you want to be creating if part of you is sort of like spaced out or not totally inhabiting the container of your body, if that makes sense. So that's the first picture energy thing, so to speak. That's a deep, powerful word thing. That's the first thing that I think women we run up against is the fear of the unknown. What's going to happen when? So that's one thing. Another thing that they might experience, especially, and I work with women who are downsized or fired unexpectedly. Their company was shifting direction, or they're downsizing, and these women who let go, being very capable. So unexpected, oh my gosh, now what do? I don't have a plan. So another thing is there's no plan of how they're going to move forward. Even if they know they want to on their own create a job, change a job, if they don't have a plan, they're going to be going like this, not knowing how to do it. Think of when you go to a new address. Well, you don't just randomly start driving around wherever you live, hoping you find it. You punch it into your GPS, you get out a map to show you how to get there. And the same is true with any kind of change that we need to make. We need to have a plan to help us get there. So that's another thing that I think happens with women in transition, is they don't really have a concrete plan. Even if they have a plan, old feelings might come up. And this is where the work that I do comes in. Old feelings might come bubbling up that maybe they haven't experienced in a while. Shame, guilt, failure. How could this happen to me if they were fired or downsized? Or why am I not standing in my value? Why am I not expressing my noble purpose or the greatness that I came here to express? These are things that block people. And even getting really comfortable with our discomfort. And this is what I see happening to people a lot, and especially in the practice that I have, is we get so comfortable with what's not working for us that we get super comfortable with the discomfort, if that makes sense. And then we're afraid to go out and create that change again, because now that change, that feels more uncomfortable than the discomfort we've gotten used to, if that makes sense.
It does.
So those are really the main things that I see happening when a woman goes through a transition, is some of these things can come up. And also divorce, that's another big transition that sometimes women are planning it themselves, or sometimes, as my sister was, they're blindsided and never even knew it was going to happen. So there's a lot of different types, but in the workforce, this is what I see the most, is women outworking their bosses, outworking their companies, and not having that power of confidence to take that next step. And real quick, I worked with a client one time, and she is a CEO of a very prosperous company. And she was coming to me for confidence because she didn't understand why she was chosen to be the CEO. She had been the CEO for more than a decade, but she was still walking around with that imposter syndrome. Why me? I don't think it's me. And yet there she was. So even when we reach these marks, we can still carry these feelings of, it must have been a mistake. They didn't really mean to give me that raise. And that's because of all the imprints that we're carrying in our subconscious mind. And that's the work that I do, is help people get into there to clean all those old blocks and beliefs out.
Wow. Well, what you're talking about really resonates with me and my experience with clients as well. It's so interesting how there can be this sort of double experience of, being a CEO for 10 years, but being afraid the whole time at the same time, different parts of
Yes.
the person that can get in the way.
Yep, absolutely.
So I know you have a lot of experience with helping people through transitions in the way
Mhm.
you've just been describing, and that your experience has shown you that while there may be plenty of external challenges, and we like to focus on those, time, money, lots of things outside of us that get in our way, people also often tend to get in their own way.
Yeah.
So, how do we get in our own way of making a change, such as changing our work? That's
That
maybe
is,
related to what you were just talking about.
that's such a good question. The main way that I see people get in their own way is getting caught up in their thoughts, getting caught up in their analyzer. And that might seem a little silly, but this is everything starts with a thought. And every time we think a thought, it creates a feeling in our body. So if we are always thinking, even unconsciously, I can't do that, I'm going to fail, I don't deserve a raise, well, I don't know if I should go ask that company if I can join them, whatever it might be, those thoughts are going to be creating uncomfortable feelings. And
Mhm.
as I said earlier, we're not going to go towards an uncomfortable feeling. That's not what we're usually conditioned or programmed to do. We're going to go away from the uncomfortable feeling. So, thoughts number one, we get too caught up in our thoughts or looking outside ourselves and kind of judging ourselves how we assume other people are judging us. I think that's another big one that women tend to do is we kind of prejudge ourselves. So that's one way that I think, a couple of ways that we get in our own way. And being afraid, this sounds really silly in this day and age, but I work with so many women today who are still practicing, learning, yearning how to own their voice. And even powerful women in positions of, high positions, a lot of them have a hard time speaking up. So think about wanting to create a change and saying, I would like to quit. I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice and I would like to go apply here. That takes a lot of energy. And sometimes our fifth chakra can get squeaky tight closed, and we have a hard time expressing. We have a
Mhm.
hard time creating. So being afraid to speak up, being afraid to be seen, even though we yearn to be visible and seen so much, those old shadows from the past that are still lurking in the container of our subconscious mind might start rearing their heads and go, wait a minute, we already have a program for this. We're going to get laughed at. We're going to fail. We're going to not make as much money, whatever the fears and beliefs that are already in our subconscious mind may be. They can be dormant for a very long time. But if a similar situation comes up, then it's like activating that computer program. Oh, we already have a program for this. And then it starts acting on that cycle. That keeps us blocked. That keeps us stuck. That keeps us working harder than we have to work to really own our gifts, our talents, and stand in the value that we came here to share.
It's fascinating to hear you describe all of those things. They're certainly familiar to me, and um, when I experience them, or when a person experiences them, you sort of think like, well, first of all, you may not know it. You may not even know that this is going on. And then if you do know it, you might think, oh, it's just me. But what you're telling us is that this is pretty common, at least among women, and I would bet among men also. Um,
Based on my experience of the 45 years under my belt of working with people, that would be, yeah, based on just my experience. Absolutely, yes. And men too. I know we're kind of focusing on women right now, but men also go through stuff.
well, there are men in our audience too.
Oh, good.
Usually they're not. There's usually more women than men, but
Hmm.
hopefully there will be men in our audience too.
Absolutely. I want to
So,
mention something, if I can. This is
I-
about working and all that, and I thought it was I was sort of laughing because the last time I received an official paycheck from the world, I don't know, 1983. I've been really working for myself ever since, and a lot of that was being on welfare. I was stuck on welfare for a while as a mother of two young children for through no fault of my own, other than wrong choice and a father for my kids. And it was really hard to get off the welfare system out in Berkeley, California. Once I was on there, I got stuck. I thought it was just going to be there for a little bit, helping me get through this tough time with my children and cleaning houses and all that. But really, becoming a hypnotist was the light at the end of the tunnel. When I started looking at what's now my vocation, that gave me the courage to just jump off the system once I did become a hypnotist. But I say that sort of tongue in cheek because I haven't had an official job. I've been my own employee, employer, so to speak. But my passion is to help other women and men, but mainly women. If I could help one woman, this is a vow that I gave to myself. If I could help one woman, pull her up from that shame and just the guilt of being so stuck and so downtrodden with finances and all that. If I could help one person, then my life is worth it. And I work with a lot of women now, and I've helped them take the steps to get off welfare, and I've helped them get their businesses up and running, because I know what it's like to be stuck. I know what it's like not to have faith in yourself. I know what it's like not to have a voice.
Right.
Yeah.
So you are actually someone who has made not just your recent transition that you told us about, but in your work a very long time ago, and who has helped many people um, make a similar transition through learning hypnosis, getting certified as a hypnotist, and developing a business.
Yeah,
And,
that's my
and
prayer, that I
other
help people.
practitioners too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I started off, like I said, in the metaphysics. I became a professional reader and teacher. And so, and the two very much go hand in hand. So I just have different modalities of helping people in the subconscious.
That's wonderful. And
Yeah.
your story is so inspiring. Your own transition and how you've helped others in the different ways. Truly, it's
Thank
inspiring.
you. Thank you. And yeah, I think I said earlier, like I serve everyday people who have everyday issues. And if you look around, that could be a lot of people with a lot of issues.
Mhm.
And the main place where I see people get stuck, and especially, if we're talking about transitions, is we have a hard time seeing ourselves in our highest light. And whatever we believe in, a higher power, whoever your version of source is, if people listening have a version of a higher self, even in hypnosis, listen to your higher self. If you don't believe in a higher power, at least your wise inner mind. Um, but when you can start listening to that starts that little action of faith, that you can start trusting who you listen to within. So when you start doing that transitional work, you're learning how to trust what you're listening more inside yourself. And I think that's really important, because we're so used to looking outside ourselves, which we need people outside ourselves for answers, for some information. But I believe that all of our true answers are really inside. So I help people go inside to find out the answers for them. It's like sorting out the truth and the lie, sorting out your laundry.
Right. Well, I wanted to ask you, and you're already starting to answer it, what are some practical strategies for dealing with these blocks that get in our way in transitions? And you're talking now about turning to yourself, going inside yourself. Can you talk more about practical strategies that people can use to help themselves not get stymied by these blocks that come up?
Absolutely. And there's some real simple, like, mind shift exercises that we can do. Like, one is for anybody listening right now, think of a change that you want to be making. Let's say that you want to ask your boss for a raise, or you want to go apply for a position that you've always wanted. And we start with the mindset of I need, I want, I have to have. And you can do that right now. I need a new job. I have to have a new job. Everything gets very limited and contracted. My background before I got into all this, I was a dance major in college, and I grew up in the Humphrey technique, which is very flowy, rise and fall. And then I had to learn Graham, which is contraction and hard. So I like the flowy stuff better. So instead of I need, I want, I don't have, I am now unfolding. I am now getting courage every day, or strength or confidence every day. So it's a little mental mind shift that we can do. The other thing is, for self-help, or to get somebody in your area to help you, like find somebody who can help you find out what those blocks are. Learn some techniques of grounding, learn how to bring your energy around your body, because this is all the energy, the tools that you have to create everything you're here to create on the earth with. So even though it's a little bit of a metaphysical for the working world, it's still all part of who we are. And I work with a lot of women in business, helping them put this whole awareness to be in alignment in their business container as well.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of businesswomen who are also spiritual people. Sometimes spiritual people have spiritual businesses, but when I work with them, on one level, they're in their business realm of spirituality, and it's all wonderful. Then they start looking at the practical side of business, and spirituality goes out the window, and my numbers are low, and how am I going to pay this? I'm like, you just have separation going on. You need to stay in alignment the whole time. So I help people stay in alignment with their information as they're
Mhm.
making these transitions.
Well, I know from personal experience that mindset shift from a contracted space of I need and what am I going to do? Who will give this to me? Who will hire me?
Mm-hmm.
Making that shift, that mindset to a mindset, I'll call it a mindset of trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that that's not a little mindset shift.
No.
It's a major mindset shift, and I'm definitely intrigued with what hypnosis can do to help that. I know meditations can help that, but I would guess that hypnosis can really move that along. Would you
Hypnosis is
agree?
powerful. I would absolutely agree. And yeah, hypnosis is a natural state of mind that we go into every day. Driving down the highway, studying for an exam, reading a book. Anytime we have focused attention on something and everything else sort of goes away for a little bit, that's hypnosis. So I help people go into their subconscious mind with intention. And our subconscious mind is a storehouse of memory of all of our life experiences, and things will stay in there forever unless we think to clean them out. Things don't bother us, but sometimes, like I said earlier, that computer will activate and all of a sudden we have fear. All of a sudden we feel stuck. All of a sudden we feel blocked, and we have that hamster wheel of negative thoughts going on again. So
Mhm.
hypnosis helps people let go of all that. And it's very similar to meditation, but it's not the same, because when I started meditating, I could not get my mind to shut up. And meditation is an emptying out process, but I couldn't get my mind to, get quiet enough to empty out. But once you go into hypnosis, an hour of being in hypnosis is equal to about 6 to 8 hours of being asleep at night, because you're getting your body and your mind relaxed together. So you can actually experience REM from the hypnotic state. So you're getting deep relaxation, and you're getting, you're very alert and aware afterwards. So when you help people go inside their subconscious mind, they can start emptying out and really focusing in on what they want to start calling in, what they want to start focusing on. So it's a powerful modality. And it's surprising how effective it is to really create positive and permanent change. I may have gone off track there, but yeah.
No, not at all. That exactly on point. So
Perfect.
you're talking. The next thing I was going to ask you, I think you've already answered. How you help people address these problems, and is there anything more you want to say about that, or have we kind of covered that?
Well, I mean, there's so many, because I also do energy work. There's a lot of different ways that I can sort of look and perceive where somebody might be stuck. So they might want to get a reading with me instead. But I think the most important thing is, when you think about a change that you want to create. It's funny, I was just teaching this class at a conference I was teaching at in Boston for International Hypnosis Conference. And I was talking to a bunch of students. How many want to create a change in your practice? How many, one of the changes is you want to raise your rates? How many of you have an uncomfortable feeling when you want to raise your rates? All the hands go up. So even that uncomfortable feeling would block them from raising rates to attract the clients that they need to have so they can take care of themselves as a hypnotist. So I start addressing uncomfortable feelings every step of the way.
Mhm.
And even in my Light Your Fire coaching practice, that's what I do with the other alternative healers or practitioners, is I help them address every uncomfortable feeling every step of the way with the change that they're creating.
Mhm.
It's
Um,
powerful and it's natural. That's what I love about it. It's a natural state of mind that we access all the time.
mm, it sounds wonderful. Sounds
Yeah,
extremely helpful.
it is. I believe so.
Would you share a success story or two about yourself or your clients with using the approaches you're describing for getting through transitions?
Yeah, well, my success is I'm still here breathing. So well, that's
Yeah.
enough about me. I have so many clients. One woman in particular, she's worked with me for a long time, and I've known her for many years. And she started off as like an accountant or something, and always wanted to work with George Lucas. She had this vision of working for George Lucas, and she started working with my teacher in hypnosis and started clearing out all the beliefs that said she could not work for George Lucas. She ended up working for him after she worked on Treasure Islands in San Francisco for the Nash Bridges show. She was an accountant there. At a wrap party, she met George Lucas, and then she started working for him at his ranch up in the Redwoods someplace. And then she started writing plays that were putting on for his theater group there. And it was all because she was going into her subconscious mind and letting go of all the beliefs that say, you can't do that. You're just this person from Michigan. You can't meet George Lucas. You can't work on the Lucas Valley Ranch. So that was one. And then she ended up writing a memoir and is getting all these accolades for writing her story. So, and I watched her dedicate her life, working on her inner self. So hypnosis is powerful for that. So that's one story. Um, I have another woman who was going through a transition it was with work, but it was her life also. So they were kind of like meshed together. And her marriage was getting kind of sticky and toxic. Her work situation was getting sticky and toxic, but she didn't want to leave work. So going into her subconscious mind, she actually discovered that she was activating a lot of her old adult children of alcoholic imprints or tendencies. So a lot of her past was really sort of coming up and creating interference in her marriage container and her work container. So we don't really know what's inside of us from the past that might be affecting us today.
Mhm.
So if you do have an uncomfortable feeling, if you want to create change, but something keeps stopping you, if you don't have the wherewithal, if you don't know how to go inside yourself and find out what it is, find somebody who knows how to help you, because you owe it to yourself to get rid of those blocks that your life can rock, because your people need you, whoever your people are, whether you are somebody who works for somebody else, be the best employee that you can, so that when you make that change to have your own business, you'll attract those people to you who want to be your best employees. Everything that we want to do, it's like a pay it forward with our energy, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've had tons of success stories, but I don't know, that was the first one that came to my mind, but tons, a lot of them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Great.
Yeah.
I think they demonstrate what it is that you're talking about, which was the point. I understand that you have a gift that you want to make available to our audience. Would you tell us about that gift?
Yes, it's called hypnomotivation, or get motivated with hypnosis. And you need to listen to it with headphones, because I use binary beats that are set up for the creativity modality. When our brain hears these binary beats, it's going to match that and get your creative juices flowing. And some of the wording might be, if you're a hypnotist, getting your business running, but the people who listen to it say, I didn't even notice that part at all. I started doing things that I haven't done in a long time. So it's really going to help you stop procrastinating if that's what you're doing, and just get your energy up and moving. So hypnomotivation is a free gift that I'd love to offer to the people who are listening to this.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you for, on behalf of everyone who comes and gets your gift.
You're welcome.
It sounds really terrific. I've listened to some of your meditations on YouTube, and
Oh, fun.
I've really gotten a lot out of them.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So we're coming toward the end, but I want to ask you a closing question, which is, what is the one quality or value that you think is the most important to embrace to successfully get through a transition?
Integrity. I believe integrity is so important in life, and integrity with who you are and how you want to stand in your values, or the change that you want to make. Integrity to look behind you and be accountable for anything that you did. That I don't believe in really mistakes. I think everything we've done is a stepping stone to help us get to wherever we are in each step of awakening. But to look back and be accountable for whatever your past was, and sort of step out of that victim modality that a lot of us can go into, especially if things aren't working out at work. Then it's always going to be somebody else's fault. So accountability is going to be the second word. So integrity and accountability, I think, are so important.
Hmm.
Even as we're cleaning out the invalidation, the guilt, the shame, as long as we can be in alignment and be true to ourselves, that really is going to speak volumes.
Hmm. Thank you for that. And Debbie, I'm so grateful, that
Thank you.
for your sharing your wisdom and experience here with us today. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I love to talk.
And well, we get to benefit.
There you go.
And thanks everyone for tuning in.